A very special welcome to all of you in my channel and my playlist Sewing Made Easy. My name is Lilo Siegel and it is my pleasure to occasionally give you some news about sewing or some ideas about sewing, or as in this case today, something I found new for my industrial sewing machine, because that's what it's going to be about right now. As you know, if you have an industrial sewing machine, that you have to stitch practically anything with it that you need to have done. But occasionally, you also know that there's one or two materials that are a bit more difficult to get over with the machine, because the material is either very thick or it's very sticky, so your normal foot of your industrial sewing machine just doesn't have the possibility to go over it. So I found some new presser foots for my machine that I haven't seen before. Maybe you know them already, but if you don't know them, then you should stay right tuned right now, because I'm going to demonstrate them to you and explain to you how they work and how nice you can work with them as well. Here we go. So if you do have an industrial sewing machine and you got your normal presser foot on, you know it is very often really a challenge to work with difficult materials. Difficult materials can be all kinds of leather, as an example, and of course all the now on the market available plastic. I call them plastic materials. Yes, it's something you can make coats of. Many people I know, they love to do bags and purses, or even make bands for the dogs, all kinds of stuff like that, and that is really difficult. Trousers or whatever needed, but you suddenly realize you start sewing, but your machine, or better to say the foot, doesn't like it. It does a stitch, yes, but if you don't really hold it very well, it likes to pull, look, everything together, as you can see right here. And that is not the result you want. Of course, if you got to do something very quickly and you haven't found the right presser foot yet that you might need, you of course always can work with some patterns, as I like to say, because this is the absolutely have to have anyway next to your sew machine for any kind of stitching. That means if I want to sew this particular material, all I do is I take my pattern. It shouldn't be too thick, it shouldn't be too thin. You can see it's movable. There again, this is used to be much harder paper than it is now, because you can see I've been using it a bit. I like to work with those kind of patterns because they help me so much to get a real straight, nice and even seam no matter what I'm sewing. But it gets more and more difficult the more problem the material is that you got. So of course for a long time on the market there's been those Teflon foots. They've been out as long as I can remember. And there's different kinds. There is this little thin one here, which of course is so thin that it doesn't really always hold me the material well down. While that one is a very good one, but it's so bulky that when I have to stitch something very accurate, it's not easy to see. So these are not really my favorites. So what I found just recently is this lovely foot called a roller foot. You can see when I turn this over, that's where the name comes from. It got two little rollers on the front and it got two white ones on the back part. Of course, if you order any of these feet somewhere in the internet, if you can't get them from your local shop that sells your sewing machines, then you must make sure that the height of your foot is really the same height as your normal one. That is important. Otherwise it will not fit. It also has to have quite a long cut in case if you have, like me, a needle transport machine. Because as you know from needle transport machines, I just put this material under here to show you where it stitches in the front. Now with the transport from underneath, the needle goes back. You can see it now much farther back, it comes up again, while now the needle goes forward while the transport is not working. So it goes in the front, so only the needle practically moved forward. Of course, underneath my transportation went down and went also forward, so the needle can go back in the hole, and together they move back and move the material back. That's why this cut in has got to be long enough. There again, if your machine is a sewing machine with only the under transportation, then this will definitely fit anyway. So what we have to do now, we have to change these feet, which you know anyway how that works. All you have to do is undo your screw there and put the new foot on. And now this particular roller foot is especially good for thick material and for leather. It is ideal for leather. I got quite a thick leather piece here. You can see that it's about 2.5 millimeters thick. So let me put that right away doubled here so you can see how nicely the machine will run over this now. And you can see it even doesn't push my material over. It actually stitched it exactly as I put it on top of each other, perfectly flat, and the rollers just went over this as if there's nothing there. So if I do the same on this material, this plastic, you will see exactly the same. There we go, and you got a perfect seam here as well with this foot. But this one's been on the market a little bit longer already than the next one I want to show to you, because this one is really a little darling. Now look at that. Doesn't that look cute? I fell in love with it the moment I saw it, to be honest. All it is, you can see here, in the foot there is 2 grooves on each side one, and these little rollers, like a little tank actually, I think it looks. They're being pushed in, and while you're stitching, your transport moves the material, and as it holds onto the material, it just keeps on rolling along. Now, isn't that nice? And of course, I will show that to you as well while being on the machine. So we undo this one. And I bought myself 2 right away because I don't know how long these plastic pieces will last. Although I also know you can buy them new again. So you don't buy the whole foot. Then you only buy those 2 little Teflon rings. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't even mentioned this yet, because this presser foot is called Ring Teflon Presser Foot. And I'm sure you'll find that in the online shops or even at your local dealer, which of course you can go to as well, because then if it doesn't fit, you can go back and complain. And now I take a real difficult real leather material here, because that one is one my machine does not really like to stitch just like that on its own. And I also put right away 2 layers there from my material. And now you can see how nicely this rolls over this material. I just love it. Now look at that lovely stitch, just looking perfectly. And that's what my machine's supposed to do for me. When I'm doing the stitching, I want a perfect seam and I want my work to be perfect. So to repeat once for you, this was my normal presser foot. These are the Teflon feet, that you can buy in different variations. Or we're looking at the total new one that I got new anyway, is this lovely roller foot. And then we have this ring Teflon presser foot right here. I hope very much I could give you an idea to maybe get those feet for your sewing machine to do some even better working and easier working. That's the main point. Work's got to be easy. Sometimes what you're sewing is difficult enough to get together correctly. And if you don't have the right tools, you make it yourself even much more difficult. So I say thank you for watching me. And as I like to say at the end of my English movies, please give me a comment where you're watching me from, because I always like to read where in the world you are. So I say a special thank you for all of that. Stay healthy, because that is so important nowadays. And I hope to have time for another video for you soon again. Bye for now, and tschüss.